Kore Mapinduka and welcome to Africa Good Morning, your portal into Africa's potent stories. Today we begin with Cameroon's Paul Biya securing an 8th term as unrest grips the nation. In Tanzania, President Samia Suluhu enters election with major rivals disqualified, sparking fears over media freedom. Djibouti removes the presidential age cap, clearing the path for Goulay's continued rule. Morocco prosecutes over 1,500 young protesters demanding reforms. Namibia's green hydrogen sector remains on track, while Zimbabwe navigates sanctions and opens its electricity market, reported by Talent Gore. In economic news, Dangote refinery expansion and Coca-Cola's $1 billion deal make headlines. Do catch these stories and more on the other side of the break.
Life is unpredictable and one needs to be protected against any eventuality. Get Santam legal access from as little as $50 Namibian a month for when you find yourself in need of legal representation due to civil cases, criminal prosecution, and family matters such as divorce, child maintenance, and custody. It also covers labor disputes, disciplinary hearings, and unfair dismissal or retrenchment. With Santam Legal Access, you'll receive free legal advice on almost every legal aspect, whether the specific matter is covered by your policy or not. For true peace of mind and legal protection when you need it most, call us on 061 292 8000. Santam. This is freedom.
In our top stories, Cameroon's President Paul Biya, the world's oldest serving ruler at 92, has won an 8th term in office with 53.66% of the vote, defeating former ally Issa Chiroma Bakari, who garnered 35.19% according to the Constitutional Council. The results extends Biya's rule until nearly 100 years of age. Opposition protests have erupted across the country, with reports of gunfire near Chiroma's home in Garu, leaving 2 dead. The government has not commented on allegations of irregularities, though tensions have surged in Douala, where 4 people were killed in clashes. Security forces have deployed water cannons to quell demonstrations, while opposition supporters rejected the results. Analysts from Oxford Economics and the International Crisis Group warn Biya's mandate appears fragile, urging national mediation to prevent escalation. In power since 1982, Biya abolished term limits in 2008 and has since maintained a tight grip on Cameroon. Chiroma, once Biya's minister, broke away earlier this year to run with backing from opposition coalitions and civic groups. In our next story, Tanzania's Samia enters election with top rivals disqualified. Tanzania heads into elections that many citizens describe as a coronation for President Samia Suluhu Hassan, as the main opposition party Chadema remains barred and its leader Tundu Lissu faces treason charges. Samia, who's 65, became Tanzania's first female head of state in 2021 after John Magufuli's death, and was initially praised for her reformist 4Rs policy: reconciliation, resilience, reform, and rebuilding, which reopened ties with global institutions. However, reports of abductions, repression, and political arrest have since increased. Freedom House now ranks Tanzania as not free, while 17 candidates are cleared. Key opposition hopefuls like Luhana Bina of ACT Wazalendo have been disqualified. Analysts say civic space has narrowed sharply under Samia's leadership despite her motherly image. Supporters still hail her as a symbol of women's empowerment, though youth and urban voters express frustration over unemployment and corruption. with internal ruling party divisions, accusations of elite influence, and widespread voter apathy. Analysts warn that Tanzania's democracy risks further erosion amid shrinking media freedom and fear-driven silence. Djibouti removes a presidential age limit, opening door for Gulea. Djibouti's parliament has voted unanimously to remove the presidential age cap of 75, clearing the way for President Ismail Omar Guelleh, who's 77, to contest the April 2026 election. All 65 lawmakers supported the constitutional amendment, which now awaits the president's approval and confirming vote in early November. Guelleh, in power since 1999, could thus extend his 26-year rule in the small Horn of Africa nation. The move sparked limited criticism on social media, though it is difficult to gauge public opposition given Djibouti's restricted freedom of speech and press. The country's presidential system centralizes power heavily in the executive, and international observers consider it authoritarian. Despite its size, Djibouti holds major global importance due to its location on the Red Sea, hosting military bases from the United States, France, and Japan. The parliament's decision effectively cements Guelleh's potential bid for another term, further entrenching his leadership as one of Africa's longest-serving heads of state. Moving on, Morocco prosecutes over 1,500 in month-long youth protest. More than 1,500 people are facing prosecution in Morocco following month-long protests demanding better healthcare, education, and an end to corruption. According to the Moroccan Association for the Defense of Human Rights, the demonstrations led by young activists under the Gen Z 212 banner have drawn thousands to the streets nationwide. Now, authorities have charged participants with offenses ranging from destructions of public property to unauthorized protests and violence against security forces. Around 1,000 are reportedly detained, while 240 cases have already gone to trial in Agadir, where 39 protesters received sentences of 6 to 15 years. Although the protests have slowed down recently, discontent remains high despite King Mohammed V's October 10 pledge to accelerate social reforms and allocate 13 billion euros in the 2026 budget to improve public services. The ADMH continues to demand for fair trials and the release of detainees. The protests have underscored frustration over governance and inequality in one of North Africa's most stable monarchies. Namibia's green hydrogen sector still alive, IPPR says. Following widespread speculation about the fate of Namibia's green hydrogen sector, the Institute of Public Policy Research, IPPR, has released its latest green hydrogen monitor publication, affirming that the industry remains viable. Now, the report examines progress on the country's renewable energy initiatives and key challenges, particularly in developing local expertise. It explores how Namibia can build the skills base necessary to participate meaningfully in a global green hydrogen production. Frederico Lings of the Institute of Public Policy Research addresses the question of whether green hydrogen is dead directly in the following video produced by Algator Greg. Have a look.
So there's been a lot of talk about green hydrogen being dead. What's your opinion, Mr. Links?
I wouldn't. That's a bit of a strong statement. So I wouldn't say that the green hydrogen sort of our ambitions as Namibia are dead. What I would say is, and that's what we're focusing on in this edition of Green Hydrogen Monitor that we're releasing today, is just I think that reality is setting in, and that the practicalities of a sector such as green hydrogen are becoming more to the fore, and that the hype and spin is muting, which is a good thing because we need to have more reality-based discussions about what's happening in terms of these sorts of developments. So I think it's just the landscape is changing, the landscape is shifting. We're having more reality and evidence-based discussions, and that's the way it should be. And our take has always been that much of the public discussion space over the last 5 years has been fueled primarily by hype and a lot of spin, which has exaggerated the impacts and the potentials and the futures and so on. And we feel it never was going to be that. And that's why hopefully we've reached this point where we can now start having more sober discussions about the green hydrogen future. Hopefully this is it. So I wouldn't say it's dead, no.
All right, that concludes our top stories. Let's take a look at the weather predictions.
Conversations that matter.
That's right. Bright minds, bold opinions, and a touch of morning magic. This is your daily dose of energy.
So grab a cup and join in on the conversation every weekday morning at 8 o'clock with Smell the Coffee, hosted by Diana Master and Aina Riza Quayo.
We now cross over to the House of Stone with a Zimbabwe report with Talent Gore. Good morning, Talent.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Now, starting us off in your stories, Zimbabwe shines amidst illegal sanctions, according to President Mnangagwa.
Yes, on Saturday, Zimbabwe held the anti-sanctions a day. So the president said that Zimbabwe has learned valuable lessons from the illegal sanctions imposed on the country by the United States and its allies. In his keynote address, as the country commemorates the SADC-initiated Anti-Sanctions Day, President Emerson Mnangagwa said Harare takes comfort from the solidarity it gets from other countries in the region and beyond. He says that despite the effects of illegal sanctions, our national economy has been on a positive growth trajectory. Under the Second Republic, Zimbabwe continues to register notable increase in foreign currency earnings marked by export receipts, diaspora remittances, and foreign direct investment flows. Well, this was said by President Emerson Mnangagwa. So he's saying that Zimbabwe is actually thriving, even though the country is under sanctions, which the president is saying the sanctions are illegal. So this SADC anti-sanctions day calls for other SADC states to join in Zimbabwe to call out the United States and its allies to remove these sanctions which have been imposed on Zimbabwe since the early 2000s.
Now, Zimbabwe opens electricity retail market to private players. Can you expand on this, Talent?
Yes, the Zimbabwean government has taken a major step towards liberalizing the power sector by allowing private companies to distribute and sell electricity directly to consumers. Under the new model, firms will be able to obtain licenses to purchase electricity from suppliers such as the Zimbabwe Electricity Supply Authority or independent producers, including solar firms, and then sell it to households or businesses in designated areas. The model, officials say, is designed to attract private investment into secondary power distribution, particularly in undeserved or unconnected suburbs. It is expected to speed up electrification and reduce costs for government while also integrating renewable energy sources into the national grid. Earlier this month, ZESA acting manager director Abel Grupira told an investor conference that the utility had mapped out nearly 400 dark cities, fully developed suburbs, and commercial zones that remain off-grid where such partnerships could be implemented. The new framework approved by the cabinet will also allow ZERA to license eligible companies that can demonstrate both the financial and technical capacity to develop and manage distribution networks. Officials also say that the initiative is a key part of efforts to achieve universal access to electricity by 2030. So the government has called upon our private investors to come in and invest within the energy sector. They are now allowing private players to come in and buy energy so that they can also sell to households. So as of now, we only know of one company which is also feeding its power into the national grid, which is the Zimplats. It's a mining company, so it is off grid and it is utilizing solar energy. So its excess power, it is actually feeding that into the national grid. So now the government has actually opened up that space to allow private sectors to come in and also feed into the national grid. So this will also help with the energy power cuts that we usually experience in Zimbabwe. So this will actually go a long way in ensuring that we do have electricity in the long run.
Now, Talent, in some rather disturbing statistics, road accidents claim 2,000 lives annually. Could we get into this?
Yes, well, this was said by the Minister of Transport and Infrastructure Development whilst answering questions in Parliament. So he said that he revealed that Zimbabwe witnesses 5 deaths per day and in excess of 2,000 deaths per year in road traffic accidents amid concerns over an increase in unroadworthy vehicles and reckless driving. Minister Mona said the government was concerned about the number of accidents being witnessed on the roads, especially those resulting in fatalities and even injuries. Given the size of the population of the country, on average, the country is witnessing 5 deaths per day, and per year, we are in excess of 2,000 deaths. This was said by the minister. He also said that he has been talking to his counterpart, the Minister of Home Affairs, to know to ensure that the police man the roads and ensure that unroad with vehicles are not they are not being used on the roads, because these are some of the vehicles that the minister is saying are causing these accidents. He's also saying that reckless driving is one of the major causes of these road traffic accidents. You also find out that in Zimbabwe, 90% of the accidents that happen on the roads are due to human error. So the minister is saying that he's working with the Home Affairs Minister, who's head of the police. He's saying that they are working together to ensure that there are roadworthy vehicles on the roads, and also people are not driving recklessly. Because right now, if you come to Zimbabwe, there are lots and lots of roadblocks when you're going into the city center, when you're going anywhere. So the police, the Minister of Home Affairs and the Minister of Transport, they are working together to ensure that the vehicles that are moving on the roads are actually roadworthy.
Now moving from current affairs to the world of sports. Michael Nees sacked as Zimbabwe coach after a year in charge. What exactly happened here?
Yes, the Zimbabwe Football Association last week sacked the national team's coach Michael Nees following a poor run results in the World Cup qualifiers. The decision was made by the executive committee chaired by the ZIFA president Nobile Magwizi. He said that ZIFA takes this opportunity to sincerely thank Mr. Nees for his efforts and contribution to Zimbabwean football during his tenure. His dedication to the game and his service to the national structures are appreciated. The ZIFA president also said that ZIFA remains firmly committed to strengthening its technical development programs and ensuring continued progress in all areas of the game in line with its reform and restructuring agenda. The German was appointed in July 2024 and took charge of 2 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers and 6 World Cup qualifiers, leading the Warriors to 4 draws and 4 defeats. Zimbabwe were forced to play their home international matches in neighboring countries due to lack of a FIFA-approved stadium. And Nice will cite this in his defense because he has to go on and defend himself. But as of now, he has been sacked just barely a year after he was appointed the Warriors coach. He won 4 games and he drew 4. So the ZIFA board was not quite happy with those results. So he has been sacked as the Warriors coach.
Thank you so much, Talent, for bringing us the latest news stories from the House of Stone.
You are welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
And on that note, we have come to the end of the broadcast. Thank you for tuning in and catching up with the latest news with Africa Good Morning. From me, Glenora Shipura. Until next time.